Hi everyone, and welcome to the second episode of The Yarning. Now, this is a series of town hall discussions with Queensland Indigenous business owners, and this time we're taking our roadshow up to North Queensland. Now, my name is Matthew Jones. I'm the principal of Saga Business Advisory, chartered accountant, as well as also being a Torres Strait Islander from Darnley. Now, as is protocol, I'd also like to take the time to acknowledge the traditional owners from where we're broadcasting today, the Ogra people, and pay my respect to their elders past, present and emerging, and also to where you're listening from today as well. This is a part of the Indigenous Businesses Open for Business program, which is an initiative by Advance Queensland. The aim of the program is to support Indigenous businesses throughout COVID-19. Now, there's a lot of information out there. It can be difficult to find assistance that's right for your needs. The telephone helpline has been set up for Indigenous business owners. So if you need support, give them a call on 07 3063 4767. Now, as I mentioned at the start, we're focusing on Indigenous businesses based up in North Queensland, and we have two business owners with us today. First, we have Paul Olsen, owner and operator of Brolga Cranes and Equipment. And also we have Juan Walker, owner and guide at Walkabout Cultural Adventures up there in the tropical far north. Welcome. Okay, Juan, why don't you start us off today and just tell us a bit about your business?
So Walkabout Cultural Adventures is a tourism operation based just north of Port Douglas in Googee country. Primarily on a day tour, we pick up visitors staying in Port Douglas, Mossman or up in Daintree, and we get visitors out and try and show them the connection to country that Googee people have with the land and sea. During the day, we educate visitors on bush medicine, bush tucker. We touch a lot on local Googee history, from traditional history to changes in traditional lifestyles to modern day lifestyles, and how we manage to keep on practicing as much as we can, from hunting practices, medicine, family structures, and just give people an insight into why we are the way we are today.
That's amazing stuff, and I was actually looking at your website before we started to chat today. It looks like a really amazing setup that you've got going up there. I mean, probably haven't had a feed myself. That's why I was pretty interested in that bush tucker stuff, but we'll talk about it later on. Paul, why don't you tell us a bit about your business and also how you came to have that amazing artwork on the side of your cranes too?
So we've been in business now, we just hit 12 months. So I've been in the crane and rigging industry the last 17, 18 years, working all around the country, and that got the skills and the experience and put myself in a position to operate some of the largest cranes to come into Australia. With having that sort of role, it's been good. It's taken me around Australia, but it's also kept me away from my family. And I've got two little girls, so they want dad home, and I wanted to be home with them. So the only thing that I sort of know and got the experience in is cranes and rigging. So that's where Brolga Cranes generated from. So it's been a challenge, especially with the start of the COVID and stuff like that. A lot of people were looking to shut down and stop work and stuff like that. And we just purchased our first crane, and we want to get some work. Let's start working. And so it was a little bit difficult there and a bit of a challenge. But with our crane, we've got Indigenous art on the side of it. And the Brolga, because the Brolga is the Australian crane and an Indigenous bird. My cousin done it here in Gladstone, but Brolga Cranes is a 100% Indigenous owned and managed crane company. We're currently the first and only one registered in Queensland. So, it's given us some pretty good opportunities, and a lot of people have definitely checking us out. So, hopefully over the next 5-10 years, we can be in a position where we can offer good training and pathways for other young Indigenous men and women. So that's the plan anyway. So
thanks, Paul. So how did COVID-19 impact your business? Was it a drop off in forward contracts?
Well, not so much in a drop-off, because we run ad hoc hire. So it's a matter of getting a phone call and say, hey, Paul, can you come do this for us, etc. But in Gladstone, it's a very large industrial town. So with the COVID-19 taking place, a lot of the refineries and small engineering workshops and that put a restriction on access, and they postponed a lot of their shutdowns and projects until later dates. So basically, any of the work that was planned and said to be was basically stopped and forecast to a later date. So, no one's got a requirement for craneage and stuff like that. So, the first few months, where our turnover should have been increasing, it was sort of just covering our costs and stuff like that. So, definitely a challenge.
Juan, what about you with the COVID-19 shutdown? How did that impact your tours?
Yeah, we were looking at having one of the biggest years we've ever had at the start of the year. And come late March, end of March, I think it was 26th of March, business went from, running at 80, 90% to 0%. So it was a massive hit. And it just slowed everything right up. We hibernated for a number of months and drew up our COVID plans to be able to take passengers again in our vehicles. And once we had all of the plans right, the school holidays hit. And we picked up a little bit of business over that school holiday period, taking out a number of Southern Queenslanders and a handful of Sydneyites out, showing them country and having a bit of fun with them. And come a couple of weeks ago, the borders closed again and business went from, say 20% back down to around 5%. So it's been a massive hit in the tourism industry up here, and I think I'm not the only case. I think the whole region is struggling at the moment. There's a few people around travelling through and vehicles, heading up north in caravans and so on, but they're not the clientele that are normally doing tours. They're sightseeing themselves and not really booking tours. So COVID has had a massive impact. I've managed to keep my staff on just through the smaller number of tours that we've picked up, just put them back on a casual basis. And with JobKeeper, it's helped me keep the boys employed and keep business ticking over. So we've managed to hold on to retain our staff and just trying to get through this next couple of months until travel opens up again.
Yeah, great work. How have you responded? Have you been able to change any of your marketing, or is the entire market just not there anymore? So there's just no more tourists that are coming up to Port Douglas?
Yeah, so we tried to totally shift our market structure to focusing on domestic and your great nomad clientele. But that takes a little while to even, for even people to start seeing that. I did a few promotional things, television. So I did the project My Way as a travel show, Channel 9 travel show. And then I did Live from Oz. Live from Oz was organised by Tourism Australia, and it was a live stream. So I grabbed my kids and we went out into the mangroves just up the beach a little, and we did a little live stream mud crabbing tour. So with the kids, and we went out and caught a couple of muddies and showcase the natural environment here in the mangroves and how Gulgi Islands people find different food sources within them. So that was a bit of promotional stuff we did, and there was a lot of interest that we picked up through that live stream and those media programs. But again, with no visitors coming here, it's just something that's sitting on the back burner now. So we just really need the borders to open up so we can start filling our seats with bums. So that's the next stage, is just waiting for travel to open.
Yeah, it's a good point too. And even when those borders do open, with the reduction in staff at both Qantas and Virgin, you're likely to see that the intrastate travel and interstate travel that are likely to be expensive, particularly to regional areas. So when the market comes back, it's still likely to be a lot smaller than what it was before. Paul, how have you responded, and how are you getting back to business too?
So with the restrictions in that and putting the measures in place to prevent any spread off of the COVID-19, our riggers and dogmen that normally travel with us in the cranes, they now have to follow through in a separate vehicle or walk along beside the cranes, etc. A lot of the sites that we do go to, they have a lot of procedures in place where they do your temperature checks and stuff like that, and daily reports, etc., of previous travel and stuff like that. So Gladstone, being the industrial town that it is, it has been fairly strong and committed to putting the controls and measures in place to prevent any spread of the COVID. Not that we've had any cases in town, but if there's an outbreak in the town, it's being an industrial, it'll cause a lot of hurt to a lot of companies and to the general public, as it's everybody's lively income. So hopefully things sort of relax a little bit and all the projects and jobs open back up. But if it stays in place for the next 4 to 6 months, it's going to hurt the business, and it's just something that we're going to have to manage very carefully with our cash flow, and try and just keep those procedures and the safety policies and that in place to keep any prevention from happening.
Yeah, thanks for that. I guess I had a couple of notes I was just writing down as you were talking. So a summary that I picked up is that with the COVID-19 restrictions, but also the requirements too, has that meant that you've spent more time but also more cost on paperwork, just making sure you've got your COVID-19 safe plans, you're filling out the paperwork when you get on site, showing the travel logs, training on the PPE for your employees as well?
It hasn't really cost a lot. And getting extra PPE has been costing that, but all our sort of cost, we transfer that back onto our charges as well. So it has been good to be able to have that availability, etc., to transfer those payments on. Otherwise, those little things like that definitely add up. And as a small business, cash flow is key, and it'll close us down very quick. So we have been fortunate there.
Yeah, it's a good point. It's just those small costs that all add up, particularly in a small business, because you just don't have the margin to be able to withstand, a drop off in trade and drop off in profitability. Because usually the balance sheet's quite weak. So it's doing whatever you can to build up the balance sheet in the good times so it can help tide you over in the bad times as well. So I'll just direct it back to Juan. Like you mentioned something about also creating a market through visual streaming. And I wanted to know if you'd thought more about that, if there was a way that you can not only gain interest, but also to create a visual experience as well for those people international who want to get to far North Queensland but just can't and probably can't do so for the short term.
Yeah, so it's something that we've actually been looking at closely just in the last week or two. There's a few emails that we've received from ITOs, from international travel agents and wholesalers, that are looking for that virtual experience. So it's something that we've been looking at in a lot more detail, thinking about trying to get a 3D camera, and maybe even a friend down the road he operates a couple of those pretty expensive drones. And so just talking to those guys and buying our own 3D camera and getting out and doing some virtual touring. So getting out with the kids again and showcasing this amazing country that we have up here. So yeah, it's something we're looking at, but again, it's more of a cost, and again, more of my time away from work itself, trying to promote the business. So that's where the juggle is trying to juggle my time operating a business and making sure that I'm on top of everything in the office and running of the business, and as well as trying to do that promotional stuff also.
Yeah, I understand. They actually always talk about it. You can divide it into a third. So a third being your paperwork, a third working in the business, and a third working on the business or your business development functions, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And, further to that, if you're able to look at, because you're not the only one that's hurting at the moment, most of the other tourist focused companies is saying if there are any associations that are able to farm out some work, or at least promotional work. So when you're going out there and doing marketing, it might be at least you're getting some return on your time as well. Now, gents, do you have any other tips for Indigenous businesses at the moment? I'll flick it back over to Paul.
There's heaps of tips and stuff like that I can suggest. It's going to be a challenge if you're going to start a business. It's a lot of time, a lot of effort. It does take a lot of time away from your family, your friends. But if you're dedicated and you want it and you want to succeed in life, just go hard, because over time it'll happen. That the old saying, you got to crawl before you walk. There's plenty of support out there with local Indigenous businesses. If you're not on LinkedIn, jump on LinkedIn, connect with a lot of great people on there. There's the unis and that offer a lot of entrepreneur courses and stuff for Indigenous people, etc. So there's heaps of tools out there to utilise and grow your knowledge and your skills in business, which it's all going to help you along your pathway, and hopefully it goes well for you. So that's probably the best tip I can give. So just don't give up, keep going for it.
A man is not an island, as they say. Juan?
Yeah, I think Paul, he covered a lot in regards to tips. So that's right. Find people around you with expertise who can help you, along the way. But find something that you enjoy doing, I think, is a big thing. And you have to be committed. If you want to do anything in life, commitment is probably the biggest thing. A lot of people start something off and they find out it's not what they want to do, and then they give up. But if you really want to do it, things you've got to get in and do it as hard as you can. But look for support around you. I had a lot of support around me with, family, people with industry experience as well. So I just picked everyone's brains, got as much information as I possibly could. But it was also my experience. I'd been working, nearly 15 years before I started my own business in the industry. So I understood the industry, how it all worked, and how to market business. So I think if you get that experience, stick to it, commit hard, and find people who with more expertise that you can learn from, and help you along the way.
Thanks, Juan. And you've both raised really good points, particularly around developing the experience first, which enabled you both to have the skill set, but I think almost importantly, the networks and the contact base, so that when you started your business, it could be successful. You had your forward orders, you knew who to talk to, and you had that support structure. So thanks, everyone, for taking the time to join us today. It's been a great yarn with you all. For everyone listening, if you'd like to get any further information, either Brolga Cranes or Walkabout Cultural Adventures, you can find links in their contact details on the Indigenous Businesses Open for Business Facebook page. I think we also have a LinkedIn page going as well. And my name is Matthew Jones, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today.